I'm going to show you how to make your first function in JavaScript, or actually more specifically in TypeScript. So I'm trying to draw this jack-o'-lantern here, and I did the first thing, which is I found where this triangle was on my graph paper, and then I drew this triangle here. But the second step looks like what I need to do is sort of copy and paste this triangle to make the second one, and I'm noticing that my whole jack-o'-lantern is made of triangles. So it's like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I could just make 7 triangles and then I would be done. And if I were to copy paste this, that would be like a lot of lines of code. So it'd be much better if I could just write, draw a triangle and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, draw the 7 triangles and call it a day. So that's what I'm going to do. So let me show you how to define a function in JavaScript. So functions or methods are these things that we call with parentheses, and they can take arguments like these move to functions do, or they could take no arguments like this fill method does. When we call them, they look just like this. When we define them, it's going to be kind of like we use let to define a variable. To define a function, we're going to type the word function, and then we're going to type the name of the function we would like to define. So typically functions should be named with a verb, like line to, move to, should feel like an action. I'm going to call this draw triangle because that's what it does. So the simplest thing I could do is just literally take all of this code and paste it inside of my function. Traditionally we indent it. I just selected it and hit tab to indent it. Now immediately you're going to notice nothing showed up. It's like it stopped running. That's because functions don't run until you call them. So the next thing I would have to do is call my function. Okay, that was pretty good. But if I were to call this function 7 times, which is like what I wanted to do, I just wanted 7 of these, right, for my different parts of the thing, nothing is changing. And that's because I'm calling the function over and over again with exactly the same numbers. And so I'm just drawing the same triangle on top of itself, 7 times there. So that's not really very helpful. So now I want to think about, unlike fill, which doesn't need any arguments, my draw triangle function really should take some arguments. And actually a pretty good model for this would be the CTX rectangle function, which is built in. We'll notice that takes an x, a y, a width, and a height, and they're all numbers. Now, a triangle could be made out of just 3 points, but my triangles all are going to be lined up on the x-axis like this. So because my jack-o'-lantern triangles are all straight, I'm going to actually use exactly those arguments that I just got from rect. So the way we put an argument in is with the name of the value we want, and then the TypeScript part is we can add a colon and the type. So in this case, the type is just number. So we've got x, y, w for width, and height. So those are the 4 arguments my triangle is going to take. And now I need to take these numbers and change them in to variables, or the parameters I got from the function. So I'm going to move to x and y. And I'm going to come back to the x and the y when I'm done. Oops, hold on. Before I do that, let me go ahead and put those values here. So this first triangle for the I should be at 125, 175. There we go. All right. And now when it goes across to the I, I'm going to just take the x, and you can just do basic math like plus star for times, slash for divide in JavaScript easily. So x plus w and y. So now it's just going to move across whatever the width is. Now I forgot to give it a width. So I think my width was something like 150. There we go. And then I think the height was something like, I don't know what the height was, maybe 175. Oh wait, I can see. It's going to be 175 down to 325. So that's 150. My mistake, so 150. All right. So this, now this middle one is a little tricky to think about. My triangles always come to halfway across the base. So we're going to say x plus w/2. That would be width over 2. And then the y should be the y plus the height. And then in the end, we go back to x and y. All right, so at this point, I have my triangle reproduced. These triangles are now underlined red because I failed to call them correctly. I forgot to put the x, y. And what's kind of cool is as I'm typing these arguments in, so this next one should probably start at like maybe 300, 175. We'll notice I get the same hints I was used to, and it shows me, oh yeah, you're putting in the width and you're putting in the height. So that's very handy. Now I'm going to go ahead and build the nose in. So the nose should be maybe at 275, and the y value 425, width 150, height 150. Oops, not quite what I wanted. So I can just move it around. And actually the height, I want this nose to come up, so I want the height to actually be negative. There we go. And then for the mouth, I am going to want to come back to like the maybe 115. And I want to be down roughly at the height of the nose, which is at 425. So let's go 450. And we'll make these 150, and I'll make them a little less tall, 100. There we go. And now I can just paste that and move it across. And if I want them to feel kind of jagged, maybe I'll change up the heights. And I could also change the width a little bit. There we go. Okay, I should probably add some comments on what I'm doing. Eyes, nose, teeth. All right, my last one's that's a little too big, right? So there we go. Not bad. All right, I have now built my little jack-o'-lantern by just making 7 calls to draw a triangle, just like I said I would. And I defined my first function by typing function, draw a triangle, and I gave it typed parameters, which means that when I call my function, just like when I call any of the built-in methods, I get this wonderful hinting which tells me what I'm doing. And again, if I were to try to draw a triangle with an incorrect argument like red, it would get underlined and it would tell me, hey, that's not what I expected.